I want you as my assistant to dress more professionally, like business attire or something. Why though? Everybody here wears casual clothing like jeans and stuff. Just do it. I want my office to look like corporate office. Okay then. Now, for every likes this video gets, one entitled boss will be maliciously complied. So please, smash that thumbs up and notification buttons. To the story. Here's your 0% idle time. I worked for a company that provides a utility truck, and one of the analytics they monitor is how long the truck stays in place with the motor on. The target number was something like 3%, and I consistently was stuck in traffic due to my area being changed to downtown area of my city and naturally raising my idle percent. My supervisor began constantly badgering me over the raise of my idle percent, about 10 to 12% higher now. After they decided to give me a written verbal warning, I became the most efficient truck no idler in our branch, and I brought it down to a 0% by shutting the truck off at every stop sign, red light, highway, stopped in traffic, in drive-thrus, and instantly off when I got to where I was going. Now, remember, this is a utility truck that is charging my 2 phones, laptop, tablet, and my various equipment's rechargeable batteries. All this juice sucking and no alternator spinning, putting the power back into the truck battery, causing it to die like a lot. Now, the rules the company had made, it forbidden me to jump the truck myself, so I had to call the company, and they sent out a tow truck to jump start it for me. I could do it myself anyway, and probably would have, but they are writing people up out here for petty crap. And every time I call this tow truck, it takes a minimum of 2 hours for it to show up. I began doing this multiple times a day, every day, until they figured my truck was broken. It goes to the shop, checks out, they give it back, I kill it again. They end up giving me an entirely new truck, and I start killing it. I repeated this process until they gave me the 3rd truck, and the manager calls me to ask what my daily routine is. I go through the basics and add in the whole stop at the red light, engine stop, stop in traffic, engine stop, etc. And the dude goes, "Why the duck are you doing this?" My supervisor wrote me up for my idle time being too high. This is completely ridiculous! He tossed my write-up, and I'm guessing talked to the supervisor because I never heard a word about idle time again, and I quit caring about it. There's my dumb petty story. Thanks for reading. It's like, this month we saved like $3 in gas while idling, and spent like $3K in towing and jumpstart fees. Great job, team! The second story. My boss wanted me to dress for him. This was years ago, but it still makes me giggle. When I was 19, I got my first real office job. We weren't customer facing, so everyone dressed really casually, like jeans, tennis shoes, t-shirts. One day, my boss called me in to talk me about the dress code. He said that he'd like his assistant to wear business attire like they do at the corporate office. I asked what that is, and he said like little dresses with jackets. I felt icky, but I didn't fully understand why for years. And that night, my boyfriend, now husband, took me to the store and bought 5 outfits that exactly match my boss's attire. Old man jeans, cotton button-up shirts, and loafers. That's what I wore until I left the company. He couldn't say a darn thing and never talked to me about the dress code again. I now realize that it ruined his little fantasy, and it makes me proud of my young self. I just imagine you as a tiny mini-me version of him, following his every footstep in the office. The third one. He cannot wait outside? Well, guess what? He's not waiting inside. One day at work, for my lunch break, I decided to run around the corner to McDonald's. The drive-thru was packed, so I decided to just go inside. There was a homeless fellow out front who wasn't asking for money, but some food. I could tell he was legitimately in a bad way, so I told him, yeah, no problem man, sit tight and I'll bring you a couple of McDoubles. I ordered 2 for me and 2 for him. And as I'm waiting for our order to be called, I noticed an employee had gone outside to pester him and tell him that he cannot be there and he has to leave, etc. I go out and explain he's waiting for me and I was going to bring him some food. The worker adamantly stated that he cannot stand out front because it's bothering other customers. Well, I wasn't about to let them run him off because he's hungry and actually about to get some food. So, I decided instead of taking my food back to my office, I'd go ahead and eat it in the restaurant with my new friend as a company. Like 2 minutes later, our order is called and while we ate, we had a nice chat. He told me why he's homeless and why he doesn't trust the shelters here, etc. After we finished eating, we both left the restaurant and parted ways, never saw him again, but he seemed like an alright guy. TLDR, bought a homeless guy lunch, the staff didn't want him waiting outside for it, so I brought him inside as my lunch guest. Out of curiosity, like why didn't he trust the shelters? The fourth story, don't tell people you're leaving? Okay, I won't. About 10 years ago, during my first full-time job out of college, I had a boss who decided she hated me. I'm not completely sure why, but she would just go out of her way to make my life miserable. Demoted me to an overnight shift, but wouldn't give me a reason. Changed my shift around on a whim without notice. Once changed my schedule for the next day after I had left without telling me. Then wrote me up when I didn't show up on time. Stuff like that. She was a monster. So I was looking for another job. Well, I found one, and I went to give her my 2 weeks notice. This happened to be in the middle of a mass exodus for the company, and I was the 5th person to quit over the course of about 3 to 4 weeks. Morale was very low, and whenever anyone quit, she would buy pizza for everyone instead of addressing why the place was so miserable and people were leaving. After I gave my 2 weeks, she said, "Don't tell anyone you're leaving." So I said okay, and walked out of her office and announced to all my coworkers, "Hey, guess what everyone? You're all getting pizza!" And they instantly knew what had happened. She was very unhappy and I felt great. I served out the rest of my 2 weeks and she never spoke to me again. I guess she never had an exit interview with you to find out why you were leaving. The fifth story. You want to lose $100? Alright, sign here. I work in accounting and my assistant is out on this particular day, so I'm working on invoicing. While doing invoicing, I come across a work order that has a higher expense amount than the invoice amount. Realizing we will be losing $100 on the job instead of at least breaking even, I decide to question the project manager, Chad, about it. Me: "Hey, I noticed this job has an anomaly. Can you explain it to me?" Chad: what are you talking about?" Me: "Well, see the expenses? They reach a higher total than the amount you want me to bill for. I want to see if that was a mistake or..." Chad: "Oh, no, it's alright." Me: "If that is right, we're going to lose money on this job. You won't get commissioned and..." Chad: "I'm telling you it's right." Chad then rips the paper from my hand. "See, we charge a 20% markup right here." He points to the wrong spot and has the audacity to look smug. "See, it's fine." Me: I calmly take the paper back and show him the two amounts side by side. "I see that, but you didn't account for that over here for the billing amount. The total billing amount is less than that." Chad: "Look, it's right, and I don't have time to explain it to you. Just do it and stop bothering me." Me: "No problem. Can you just initial here so when our boss asks me why this job is invoiced so low, I can..." Chad: "Sure, fine, whatever." Signs his name next to the billing amount. "Now get out of my space." I go back to my office and invoiced the too low amount. I sent it off, fully knowing this was going to backfire, and kept all backups and copies handy for when it did. Next Monday, I have the boss in my office. The invoice in question is in his hand. Boss: "Hey, you did this invoice wrong." Shows me the invoice. Me: "Actually, if you look at the backup, Chad told me that was the invoice amount." I show him where Chad signed off. Boss: "I'll be right back." He left my office. Roughly an hour later, I get called into the boss office. Chad is there, looking uncomfortable, and my boss is on the phone. He waved me inside and I sat down. Boss, alright, we're all here. Now, Danny AG, please explain this to me. Me, well, I noticed the expenses on this invoice were higher than the billing amount. Chad told me that the numbers were fine and to just do the invoice. Boss, hear that, Tex? Tex is the subcontractor we use on this job. Tex, yep. So what are we gonna do? Boss, only thing to do is fire them. They're either incompetent or cheating us. Either way, it's bad for business. I'm now very concerned for my job, but I sit silently. I know I don't have the whole story yet. Tex, I reckon you're right. Well, good luck. And don't worry about the park job. I got an opening up tomorrow. I can squeeze in. Boss, well, thanks, Tex. He hangs up the phone and turns to Chad. Chad has gone from nervous to mad. Chad, it's not my fault. She can't do her job. Boss, you signed your name right next to the wrong amount. Now, you're either working with someone in accounting over Tech's company to steal from me, or you're too stupid to work here. Which is it? Chad stands, as does my boss. I stood as well, not liking being the only person sitting. Chad says nothing. Boss, you're fired. Get your computer and leave. And boss turns to me. Go ahead and fill out the paperwork for his leave. Make sure to add that he attempted to embezzle money. I nod and leave, and Chad stays there. As soon as I leave, the office explodes in screaming. I stayed in my office, doing the paperwork my boss asked me to fill out. I saw Chad leave later with his stuff thrown haphazardly into his bag. That was the last time I saw Chad. A friend saw him working at a cash register at a buffet place about a month later. Turns out, both my boss and Tex had agreed to lower their markups for the job, so the invoice number was still too high, not too low. But I didn't know that until the fact that when my boss had me redo the paperwork for the entire job. Someone from accounting in Tech's company had altered the invoice sent to Chad, and they were planning on splitting the difference after we paid the altered bill. TLDR, Chad attempts to embezzle money for the first time and doesn't pay close enough attention to his numbers. Got caught and fired. Well, amazing risk people are willing to take for such a minor payout. On to the final story. Speak language. This is country. My friend, who is Vietnamese, get told, speak English. You're in America all the darn time. It got quite annoying to him, so he eventually decided to do something about it. He looked up the Native American tribe, whose tribe was originally on the land where he lives, and went to the tribe's cultural center, told the elderly grandma working there he was tired of being told to speak English in America, and had her teach him how to say white person, outsider, non-native in the language, as well as some other curse words and whatnot. Apparently, this made that Native American granny squeak because she went all out and really taught him quite a lot. And ever since, anytime some racist tells him to speak English in America, he says, well, why don't you speak Native American tribes language? We're in Native American tribes land. You darn Native American word for white person. The shocked Pikachu.jpg face he gets in response never gets old. They completely freeze up for a few seconds before responding in entertaining ways such as gasping for air or pointing their finger angrily or just turning around and walking away, lol. Eventually, the word spread among my group of friends, and quite a few of them, who as immigrants or even just people who speak a second language, occasionally also get told this, are always chomping at the bit to get their chance to use this response. Every time some of them finally does, they immediately announce it to everyone they know, lol, and it really never gets old. Anyway, I didn't really know where to post it, but it felt like it matched here well enough, hopefully, as it takes the racist logic and returns it right back to them in a way that really rustled their jimmies. What ways have any of y'all flipped the script on racist? Well, OP's friend is definitely very smart. That's it for today, fellow humans. Thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys next time.